All right, let's call the meeting to order. I'm going to do a roll call, then I'm going to ask for a motion to allow Mr. Scala to join the meeting remotely. Roll call, Mr. Kaminsky.
Present, count for.
Mr. Kunkel.
Here.
Mr. Renner is on his way here. Mr. Sager.
Here.
Mr. Scalar is remote. Ms. Van Bergen.
Here.
And I'm here. Call the meeting to order then, and do I have a motion to allow Ms. Van Bergen, Mr. Kaminsky seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi, Mike.
Morning.
Okay, do I have a motion for the approved minutes from the last meeting? Mr. Kaminsky motions and Mr. Kunkel seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Public comment. Do we have any public comment? We have okay. Okay, Bianca Diaz.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Bianca and I'm here with the RTA. At the RTA, I work as a mobility outreach coordinator for the mobility management department. So
Oh, I'm gonna cut you off. You have your own time.
that's actually my coworker, Anthony. He'll be providing an update.
Oh, it is there. Okay, never
Yeah, so I'm
mind.
not
We're all saying, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I just have a couple of updates here from, like I mentioned, the Mobility Management Department, so they might be of interest to this committee. The first is the Transit is the Answer Coalition. So we hosted the first Transit is the Answer Coalition meeting in May. We had more than 100 participants join the meeting, and the RTA shared updates on the strategic plan implementation and focusing on the expanding the regional reduced fare and ride-free program to allow people that experience low income to be eligible for the program. So participants provided possible ways to expand the program and offered recommendation on a path forward. I also wanted to let you know that we have our Transportation Tuesday webinar series coming back. So we hosted that last summer. Every Tuesday we have a different speaker come and speak on a topic. So typically they run from noon to 1. If you're interested in joining us for Transportation Tuesday, you can find out more about it on rtachicago.org. In terms of our TAMs, after gathering feedback for our TAMs users and stakeholders, the RTA transitioned the COVID-19 dashboard to a brand new State of Transit dashboard. So this displays critical information most relevant to the general public, including weekly ridership totals and monthly ridership trends, fare box and sales tax revenue, vehicle revenue miles, and how much federal relief funding has been used by the service boards. Additionally, the finance dashboard has been updated with 2023 data. So if you're interested in accessing this information, you can go to www.rtams.org, so that's rtams.org. Last update here, section 5310. The call for projects closed in April. The RTA received a total of 15 applications. Currently, applications are under review by the project selection team, and a recommendation program of projects will be released for public comment in July. So if you're interested in learning more about section 5310, you can visit region/section-5310. So that's it from us. I just wanted to provide that brief updates. Thank you.
Okay, Carolyn Campbell.
Hi, I've been bringing notes, but I just kind of, I'm up here because last month the committee had some recommendations brought forward about speed reductions. And so my ask here today is several of the roads that, well actually two, but they were, one road was in 2 segments, that was Lakewood. So I'm talking about Lakewood from Akron to Algonquin and Hyatt from Oak to Willow. And I respectfully request that it maybe that could be brought back forward for additional consideration. I just wanted to share with you my thought process on that. My understanding is, I'm sorry, that's already. My understanding is that while there's several different ways that these changes can come forward, sometimes they come as a request from the village itself, or maybe the township, and the township is handled slightly separately. In this particular case, I do understand, and my understanding is that staff does periodic reviews of the roads, and they apply a data analysis. They put in the data, they run the analysis, and they come back with either a recommendation for a change or no recommendation for a change, and they bring all of that forward. In this particular case, so I'm just to be just completely upfront, my inclination, because of the fact that data is used in the process, and you're looking at things like, pedestrians being present, kids, access to roads, different cuts in the road, speeds, whatever, accidents. My inclination would be to follow that recommendation based on that analysis. But I do know that there are other considerations that are taken into account, and I completely respect everyone's opinion and decisions in this process. I really do. But I also live in that area, so my feeling is that I've been driving that road since it was called Prignitz and Bard back 40 plus years ago. I love the name. I'm sorry it changed, but my family lives in Lakewood. I live in Crystal Lake, just on the border of Lake and Hills, and so I'm on that road all the time. It's not a through road. It really is a road that takes people from their communities out to Algonquin or out to Miller and Randall and on their way. I was in a dilemma with this because it was my understanding at that point that the village of Lake and Hills, these two roads fall within their corporate limits. And being my background being municipalities and local government, I do tend to want to work very collaboratively with our local governments or any unit of government. And I didn't feel like I was in a position to come back and push for this without actually talking to them first. And so that was my thought process. So I first reached out to staff. They cannot, to get the feel of what is their experience on with that road. But again, they can't talk for their trustees, so then I reached out to their trustees. So that was my process there. I would have been remiss if I didn't do anything, because I do feel like this road does require reduction in speed, especially going forward. The Lakewood Road especially is part of the 5-year plan. We're going to be adding paths, we're going to be adding crosswalks. My guess is that once that's done, we're going to take it to 40 anyway. And one of the comments made to me is that when they have the tools like speed reductions, they can help to start to enforce that process now prior to getting more people and pedestrians on that roadway. So if I didn't do anything, I would have been remiss on that account, but I would have not been fair to the village to move forward without getting their input. And so I got very positive feedback from that interaction. And the recommendation, I think their feeling is that they would like to see that reduction as well. So having gone through that process, one of the things I would like to just kind of make a recommendation or something to consider going forward is, especially if this is done as part of the regular analysis with staff, if a road doesn't include a municipality within their corporate limits, if we were to just get out and note to them, this was a recommendation that's going to come before the transportation committee. We welcome your input. That could be helpful in our decision-making process too. But then at least they know, right? And then they have that information available to them. I know the other consideration is whether or not we do a 30-day review on the back end. I feel if we are better about getting that information out up front, I don't know that we need that. I know that's going to be handled in admin. I guess I'm just kind of being forthcoming about my position on this. I feel that if we're making a decision based on safety, I don't see us changing that decision because a resident comes in and starts complaining that they don't want to have to drive, they have to drive slower. I think we're going to make that decision based on the information we have input from our municipalities, and we wouldn't really change it at that point. So, and I don't think anybody has any questions for me. I hope that everyone understands that process that I went through, and it was very deliberative, it was very respectful. I think a little bit of negative feedback from the village, but I think that some of you maybe questioned my motivations, but I felt that it was the right thing to do, and I hope everybody feels so too. But if anyone has any questions, I can answer them, otherwise no.
Thank you, Carol.
All right, thank you.
Okay, member comments. Mr. Kaminsky.
Don't know if this should go member comments, new business, but you brought it up when we were at Valley High. And I'd like to know if we in the transportation can do anything, if it's a fundraiser, volunteers, whatever, never ever to ever hear a disabled veteran that's got to park in the back 40 and walk up because there was no handicap spaces available. We've got 9 spots that are sitting right to the right of the door. I'm asking, what would it take where we can get those 9 spots made for handicap, so you got 4 extra or 5 extra handicap, that when we have a disabled veteran that needs to park, that there is an availability spot there. I know that the out-year, 5-year plan or whatever for the parking lots, that's, you know, been brought up. But for right now, it seems kind of easy. Seal coat it, get the templates. If we have to borrow them or rent them, spray it. If it's a matter you need the money for the spray, I'll buy the striping spray. But let's try to help out our, you know, veterans that need to park up close so they're not out in the back 40. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no further, let's move on to the routine consent agenda. Anyone like to pull any items off?
5-3.
5-3. Anybody else? Okay, then do I have a motion to approve all others besides 5-3?
So,
Mr. Sager moves. Tracy seconds. Okay, we'll proceed to do a roll call. Ms. Van Bergen,
Yes.
Mr. Sager,
yes.
Mr. Kunkel,
Yes.
Mr. Kaminsky,
Yes.
Mr. Scala,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Motion carries. Okay, do I have a motion for 5.3? Mr. Sager moves. Ms. Van Bergen seconds. All right, discussion. Go ahead. Mr. Kunkel.
I brought it up.
Yeah,
It seems like we missed by a long way with these numbers on this. And I just didn't see any other data. I didn't see any other bidders, only the one Hometown Electric. Do we have those other numbers? And how come we missed by $500,000?
I'll start the conversation and then Assistant County Engineer Daryl Coons can step in with it.
Okay.
For this type of project, first and foremost, there's only 3 companies that do this. And that the 3 companies are also the ones that are subcontractors on all the other improvements that are going on. So right now, there's a lot of work out there. So what we heard is they're too busy, therefore the only one bid with them. Their bid also is elevated or inflated
Because they're too big.
because they're too busy. And this is all being driven by the fact of the capital program by IDOT, and that the way it was rolled out, the process, I should say IDOT going through the legislature, this is what happens. The contractors did not have time to ramp up personnel to do it on these projects. Plus, we're seeing bid prices go up substantially. Even though we accounted for it, we didn't account for it enough. And they are having issues, just as we did on the Algonquin Road with timing and delivery. That is causing concerns. So those are the reasons. Daryl, did I miss anything?
The only thing I would add is on between the Algonquin project, the Johnson Flashing Hill area and this one, we looked at those as big unit prices for that project and added between 10 to 15% from those unit prices to these. And then we still ended up with this one single bid. We felt like that was going to be enough to accommodate be it inflation, be it similar type project in the area. But all the points that Joe mentioned, just wasn't enough for the tollway work, IDOT's work, capital plan. Wasn't enough.
Am I also to understand though that a delay in this is not possible because of the funds we're receiving?
We would lose them. We've already asked for an extension once on it. Yes, sir.
It doesn't behoove us to ask for another extension, or is that not
It's
possible?
not an option.
Of course, just pick a man's pocket every time a project comes out.
We should remember that next time we do bids. Okay, anybody else? All right, we'll go to roll call. Mr. Kaminsky,
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel,
Yes.
Mr. Reiner,
Yes.
Mr. Sager,
Yes.
Ms. Van Bergen,
Yes.
Mr. Scala.
Yes.
I don't want to make it unanimous, I'm voting no. Okay, what's that? Okay, new business, Mr. Sager is wanting to introduce RTA presentation.
Thank you, Chairman. We are pleased to have with us today Anthony or Tony Savali, and he is representing the RTA organization this morning. As most of you are aware, the Chicago Regional Transportation Authority has oversight responsibility for finances, for securing funding, and for planning for the Chicago Land Transit Services. And that includes all three of the operating services, whether it's the CTA, Chicago Transportation Authority, whether it's the Metra, which of course is predominantly supportive of us here in McHenry County, and the PACE program, which equally is supportive, and Mary is here from PACE, I know. What we have been charged with doing then is to, at this time, look to the future. The RTA is required to develop and adopt a strategic plan for the regional transportation system in consultation with each of the service boards in the public manner and in the public eye, and so we continue to do that. Our most recent strategic plan is new, and we're rolling that out, if you will. That plan is called Transit is the Answer, and it was adopted by the RTA in February, and so Tony's here to talk to us about this strategic plan. I do want to indicate that sometimes the dollars become somewhat staggering, and I know that we understand here in the Transportation Committee how high costs can be, but the RTA has a huge budget that it distributes, if you will, and for CTA they have a $3.5 billion operating budget, as that includes Metra and PACE, so that's our total operating budget, but then we also have a capital budget of $4.95 billion in investments in the 5-year program. So we're talking about a significant amount of money, but frankly, it's never enough money. We are looking at what we refer to as the fiscal cliff, which is coming up in just about 2 years, and that's about a $700 million gap right now that we are feverishly working with Springfield and Washington to ensure that we all, not just the Chicago Regional Transportation Authority, but New York and Los Angeles as well, have the funds to continue to move forward. So there's a huge push in that direction, but that is, of course, a major concern. I think most of you are aware of the fact, just organizationally, that the RTA has 16 members. There are 5 members appointed for Cook County, 5 members appointed for Chicago metropolitan area, and then there are representatives from each of the 5 collar counties, which includes Lake, McHenry, Will, DuPage, and Kane counties. And then there's the chairman. Our chairman is Kirk Dillard, who was previously a senator in the state of Illinois. And that group is absolutely dedicated to making sure that we are fiscally responsible, even though it looks like when you see this huge amount of money that how can you possibly be responsible when you're spending that much money. But I think the fact of the matter is that there are huge costs associated with not only the rolling stock, but also the maintenance of the rail lines in many instances, or the other transportation lines, and of course staff, etc. So huge costs associated there. One of the things that we had an opportunity just last week to go, some of us, was going the Metra tour, which was a great tour. I want to say thanks to Scott for kind of organizing this locally with regards to that opportunity. And if you went there, one of the things you saw about Metra, which I think is worth noting, is the fact that Metro is dedicated to doing as much work as they possibly can in-house when it comes to refurbishments at all. They take that responsibility very, very important, and they're trying to do everything they can to keep our costs down as well as we possibly can. And so I want to assure this board, as representative for McHenry County to the RTA, that this job is a very serious one in trying to continue to support and to promote transit in our larger region. It's not always easy politically, frankly, because we have, as you heard, 10 people from the Chicagoland area and 5 of us from the collar counties and the chairman, but the bylaws are written such that to try to, I guess, accommodate that just a little bit, the bylaws are written that everything has to be passed by at least 12 votes. So it's just not the Chicagoland area, it's 2 more votes, and so that's that. But it also puts a burden on collar counties. If we want to move something forward, we not only have to have our 2 votes or our 5 votes if you will, but we have to get a significant amount from the other counties. But that's the way the system is built at present, and so it's a workable system, and I'm proud to say that the board is very, very, very collegial at this moment, and we're proud to have that. So right now, I'm thrilled to have Tony with us. He's going to go through the description of our long-term strategic plan, and that plan is referred to as Transit is the Answer.
Okay,
Tony.
super quick, you referenced Chicagoland several times. I don't know what another way to say it is suburban cook.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of us think we live in Chicagoland also, but it's suburban cook, and then the city, and then the 5 columns.
Yeah, right. I mean, if
It
you're
is a little easier to palate.
actually, yeah, but let's not be misled here politically. If Cook County and Chicago want something, they vote in block or in mass in that regard, and so we have to kind of keep that in mind. The other thing I'm going to say as my excuse is that I come from Southern Illinois, as many of you are aware, and if you're in Southern Illinois, anything north of LaSalle is Northern Illinois and Chicago. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you live in Galena or Belvedere or Woodstock or Chicago, it's all Chicago, right? That's what it's called. But thanks to you for that clarification. Tony, welcome.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Again, my name is Anthony Sfalling with the Regional Transportation Authority. Thanks for giving us some time today. It's not just me, but my colleague Bianca Diaz will be presenting later on some of the other work that the RTA does. I'm just going to focus on the strategic plan, going to go through what we did over the past 2 years and answer any questions that you all have. That was a perfect introduction to what the RTA does. I'm in the Government Affairs Group. I actually just wrapped up Springfield legislative session, which was it was a runaround. I'll just leave it at that. So it goes without saying that the pandemic has had profound impacts on many elements of society. This is from funding challenges to driver shortages and disruptions to personal safety and security. Transit, like many industries, has been greatly impacted. Again, it's not just us locally, this is national as well. This is a time of great change, and while much is uncertain, Transit is the Answer articulates a vision, guiding principles, and an agenda for advocacy and action. The plan articulates a set of shared regional activities that we are all committing to undertaking in 2023. The actions as shown here on the slide are divided between funding, rider experience, and thriving communities. In 2023, we commit to take affirmative steps forward to secure increased funding for transit, deliver a set of new regional transit initiatives that will make the system better for riders, collaboratively begin development of 3 regional action plans to program investments that support a thriving region. The plan details explicit action for each of these 3, and I'd be happy to provide more details at the end of the presentation if there are questions. So Transit is the Answer built upon plans and activities that the service boards have been advancing simultaneously, from the initial pandemic response to the new fare products and service patterns. Each of the service boards, CTA, Metro, and PACE, has also published plans outlining how they will continue adapting to the changing needs of riders and communities that we serve. This includes CTA's Meeting the Moment, Metro's next strategic plan, My Metro, Our Future, and PACE's Driving Innovation. Like Dr. Sagar said, we have a bunch of big numbers to share with all of you, but here is a good one about the context of the Regional Transportation Authority. Much of the work of the head is continuing to advocate for transit and the value that the system brings to the region. In talking points and graphics throughout the plan document, you'll see other ways that we're quantifying the impact that transit has. For example, the RTA system serves a geography that comprises 1/10 of the entire state of Illinois. The economic activity generated within the 6 counties accounts for 74% of all economic activity in the state. You know, that adds up to about $17.2 billion in regional benefits. So for every dollar invested in transit, the return is about $3.86. We get back to the region in economic benefits. So for this plan, we did things a little bit different. We took a big tent approach. We wanted to get out there and talk to as many people as possible about how transit impacts their lives. You know, this is very clear to us. We needed a new approach because transit is facing a number of different challenges than it has faced in the past. We focused on engaging new and existing stakeholders, partners, riders, and the general public. This included convening 5 working groups over the summer of 2022. 3 of these were stakeholder-oriented, including over 75 organizations and over 100 individuals, including Scott, wherever he is, who contributed greatly to the development of this plan, as well as work with the service boards and CMAP, the region's NPO. We utilized a number of new and novel formats for input, conducted primarily virtually, and we also tried things like compensating individuals for time and expertise. As we now pivot to implementing the plan, we will continue to draw upon the experience of our growing coalition of stakeholders to collaborate and advance this agenda and advocacy document. So I just wanted to articulate our vision. Our vision is a safe, reliable, accessible public transportation that connects people to opportunity, advances equity, and combats climate change. These are the things we heard from people when we were surveying residents on what transit meant to them. This is what kind of came out of it. These principles have guided the process of developing this plan, and they're central to our implementation ideas: equity, committed to change, and stewardship. Again, the nation is facing these challenges, transit as a whole is facing these challenges, and these are the things that we believe we have to carry forward on into the next phases. We can't really get around this number here. The backdrop to the plan development is the looming fiscal cliff that we're all facing. In 2026, it's projected that the service boards, again, CTA, Metra, and PACE, will have expended all remaining COVID relief funds, producing a $730 million annual operating budget gap. This represents about 20% of the annual operating budget in total. While sales taxes that fund transit have been strong and even growing over the last years, the funding coming from operations, primarily fares paid by riders, is simply not enough. Historically, transit agencies have 2 levers to address an operating budget deficit: either raise fares or cut service. Transit as the answer makes it clear that it is impossible for the RTA and the service boards to solve the funding cliff we are facing by raising fares and cutting service alone. Fare increases of the magnitude needed to fill the budget gap, nearly doubling from what they are today, would drive down ridership and negate additional revenue brought in by higher fares. This renders the system unaffordable for many. Throughout the process, we asked people how the region should respond to a potential future budget deficit by scaling back service or pursuing additional funding for transit. Through surveys, meetings, workshops, we overheard overwhelmingly that RTA should pursue additional funding to maintain our system and see increased investment to make transit safer, more reliable, and accessible to everyone before cutting service. Again, just a little more context on this national problem where our peers are facing this too. Our system is actually doing comparatively well in a number of ways. Our fiscal cliff is, we have a longer runway, and we have a smaller one than a number of our peers. And a lot of that is attributed to the service boards and the efficiencies that they've introduced over the years. As a part of the plan development process, RTA and the service board staff, with consultant support, evaluated potential funding options, solutions to the fiscal crisis. The slide shows the top 11 potential options from that analysis. We're not here to pick a revenue option, and we have some time on all of these things, but we do want to socialize and educate on what options exist, and begin a discussion around what trade-offs there may be between different options, including the sustainability of the revenue source, the annual yield, and equity, and to begin thinking about how we might implement these over time. Again, there's more details in the plan. I think we're missing part of the slide.
We can pull that up after.
Yeah. I have more on mine here, but this is a PDF. So, and again, all this is in the plan. We're just kind of walking through each step. just to really quickly, because I think we don't have the context here. The things we looked at include increasing the RTA sales tax, increasing a state MFT, implementing congestion pricing, expanding the RTA sales tax on different services, which would be part of a broader push for the state of Illinois in general to tax more services, implement VMT, vehicle miles travel tax, expansion of the real estate transfer tax, tollways for transit, increase the state PTF match, increase vehicle registration fee, increase reduced fare reimbursement, and then ending the state surcharge on the collection of certain taxes. So that's a run through. Again, this is all in the plan, and I'll make sure that there's a link shared with everybody ahead of time, or after this presentation. So the full agenda represents the broader goals of the plan and what we're aiming to achieve. This is what we really want to talk about going forward. How do we plan to implement these things? Again, like I said, I spent a lot of time in Springfield with this document and others looking at the transit fiscal cliff and what we can do about it. The agenda for advocacy and action is a list that reflects the work of this group, this plan, everything that we adopted in February, and what we hope to accomplish going forward. Oh, it did the same thing here. My mistake, Scott.
That's okay.
Again, this is a PDF. So I'm just going to run through really quickly. Again, we have broken up the plan into two separate. We broke it up into an advocacy list and an agenda. An advocacy and action list. The advocacy list includes longer-term, substantive changes to the broader transportation system. These are things that the RTA and service boards cannot advance alone, but will need support from other stakeholders. Number one on this list, and the thing that we have to focus on most, is securing increased funding for transit operations. Another one for us is that we want to focus on building a coalition around the value that transit brings to the Chicago region. We recently just hosted our first Transit is the Answer Coalition meeting. Staff shared progress on the shared regional activities and provided opportunities for coalition members to get involved with specific projects. We anticipate continuing this group meeting on about a quarterly basis. We can bring people in as desired. It's a good place just to get information on what is going on with transit and what we hope to do going forward. Within the plan document, you'll also see a number of coalition members making the case for transit in their words. On screen here is Michelle Jackson, who participated in a working group. We talked to, again, not just in group settings, but individual riders and talking about their experience and what transit means to them. And this is something that we really try to weave into the entire plan experience. Finally, just the action agenda. These are the things that are in control of RTA and service boards. These are the things that we would like to do with our partners, and this looks to the county as well. The action agenda includes items that are most directly impact riders, such as ensuring transit is safe and secure for everyone, making the system more seamless and affordable, and adapting to the changing needs of riders. So the big ones here, we're going to host a safety and security summit, focused specifically on safety on the transit system. But another one we hear a lot from people is the need for better fare integration and new fare products across the three transit agencies. We believe that they've done a great job in this COVID environment of pushing new fare products and getting people to use all three modes in the system. But we also know that it can be better, and that's something that we're focused on going forward. Again, the focus here will be on advancing these specific projects. And in 2023, as I said, we're going to take affirmative steps towards securing increased funding for transit. We'll deliver a new set of regional transit initiatives that will make the system safe, the system better for riders, and collaboratively begin development of 3 regional action plans to program investments that support a thriving region. Because we are a planning agency at our core, we cannot do any of this without measuring the progress. So I just wanted to detail some of the things that go into that. When we started this process more than 18 months ago, we stated out loud that the future of our system will be in a state of good repair, financially stable, safe, accessible, reliable, and useful for riders. So we're developing metrics around making sure that that is the case, tracking progress about implementation and next steps, and making sure that people's voices are heard and that we're not just investing in the system that exists today, but building a better system for more people to use. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, thank you for having RTA on a number of agenda items today. Also, there's my contact information if you wanted to talk more about this in depth. We'd be happy to share this presentation and others with you guys going forward. But happy to take any questions you might have.
Mr. Sager?
Thanks to Anthony for his presentation today. We really are grateful and have to say thanks for your yeoman's job kind of stepping in with regards to Springfield. So we're really grateful for that. I would be remiss as a representative from McHenry County to the RTA board to not take advantage of this opportunity where Tony is here, for him to hear loudly and clearly, and you all can put me down and just tell me I'm wrong if you disagree, but there are 3 priorities that I believe that this county, this transportation committee, this county board is really, really determined to address. We have a great deal of respect and appreciation for the fact that the transit systems do contribute universally to our large economic situation here in northeastern Illinois, so there's no question about that. But here in McHenry County, because we are more remote, if you will, than downtown, we have 3 major priorities. The first of those is that this body has been very supportive of the construction of the Woodstock Rail Yard for Metra, so that they can have not only parking functions, but service functions at a site or a yard that is just northwest of Woodstock versus having to have parking in downtown Crystal Lake, for example. 1. 2 is that, our folks that go downtown, they would love to have a universal pass, and this has been talked about forever and ever and ever and ever, but we've got to come to grips with a universal pass that allows people to move from the outer regions to the downtown suburban area and get the work done in an efficient, convenient manner. And in today's environments, with technology as it is, I don't believe that we understand why it's taking so long to develop a universal pass. And so I think that that is really important. The third thing that we're all interested in this area is increased pace opportunities that deal more specifically with set routes. We would like to see more set routes in the area, and we have residents that are constantly kind of coming to us and saying that those are things that we need. We realize all of the economics. We understand that it's difficult in this area. We get that, but that's something that I think that we all hear about that we'd like to see. So forgive me, folks, if I misstated there, but I think that those are our priorities and our needs. And while you're here and you're the government affairs, we want you to hear that message pretty loudly and strongly, and then you can help me as we try to forward that message when we're all together downtown.
Absolutely, and totally understood, and thank you for bringing these things. These are things we continue to work on. And I would just say the biggest thing is there is a budget gap. It's not just about plugging that budget gap, though. It's making sure that we have the funds to do these sorts of things as well to make the system better and so more people are using it across the board here. So all of those are in consideration. And we're working on a number of things with looking specifically at our fare structures and trying to bring forward this universal payment structure idea. So that's one of our value adds as the regional entity with the service boards, and we look forward to continuing that work.
I would also need to say that we in McHenry County believe firmly that we have some of the greatest opportunity for expansion in terms of residential growth and development. We are all planning for that, and we are looking very strongly at transit-oriented communities. Woodstock, for example, has just about 13 acres within 1 block of the downtown historic square that is up for residential development. That is moving forward, and those individuals are predominantly going to be looking for areas where they can live away from the downtown urban area, but moving here and have access to transit. I think other communities are the same, and we want to make sure that we are planning for our future in concert with the transit system. So that's part of our strong interest. It's not just to serve today, but to serve well into the future as well.
I didn't get into this kind of presentation, but I want to along those lines, I want to give a shout out to Metra for doing some schedule adjustment in general. And what they're finding is that this is capturing a lot of people who are going downtown for just a couple meetings and then coming back. There's a boom in midday service, and I hope that that carries over to this as well, making these downtowns attractive and boosting the TOD developments that are going on. So
I'm done, sorry.
happy to answer any questions that y'all may have.
And I did pull this slide up. I didn't want to shortchange Anthony with this slide in particular. This is probably one of the most important slides in this presentation, and we were missing a lot of the information. So if there's any questions or comments or concerns about anything you've seen here, I know Anthony would love to bring back sort of the thoughts of this committee as far as these funding options, how to fill this $730 million budget gap. And I'll resend the presentation out after this with all the slide materials included.
Well, I would hope that Ryder Fair would bring some of your revenue up for the most part, because the taxes are a little bit undesirable, especially I can see the property transfer tax. Every time somebody sells a house, they're gonna pay for Metro. I don't know that that's gonna help real estate sales very much. And I am, you know, although the universal pass is something I always say that we've been waiting way too long for. Metro has done their part on making that, you know, that app on the phone. I punched into it a few weeks ago, and now I have $20 right now. Whenever I do, I know I can get it. So Metro's done their part on their pass. Metro has, but we're on pace.
They introduce there's a Super Saver monthly that you can connect to CTA, but that's it's a little different. We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. I'll make sure that my contact information is shared with the group. Thank you for having RTA today. There's another RTA presentation coming. So, and I'll be around if you have any questions afterwards.
Thank you so much, Tony. Appreciate it. Nice to have you all here. I know it's a long way from downtown, but thanks for joining us.
Thank you. If you only have one of those passes. All right, come to staff recognition.
All right, we have the pleasure of introducing two of our newest team members, Joyce and Scott. Who's going first?
Ladies first, go ahead, Joyce.
Thanks. Thank you, Scott. I want to introduce to you Brian Don. He joined our design section on May 1st as our newest permit technician. Brian succeeded Tom Anthony, who retired on May 4th, so we had the opportunity to have a little overlap. It really helped. Brian resides in Woodstock and graduated from Woodstock High School in 1989. Brian comes to us from CTI Industries in Lake Barrington with a wide variety of experience from contract negotiation, equipment installation and maintenance, EPA reporting, and be responsible for site maintenance compliance. Brian was also involved with customer service from start to delivery of customized print projects. In his spare time, Brian enjoys spending time with family, and he enjoys fishing, camping, and outdoor time. So please join me in welcoming Brian Don
So I have the pleasure of introducing Drew Duffin. Drew is our newest member of the planning team. He's the planning liaison, which will help not only the DOT, but also the McHenry County Council of Mayors. So all 28 of our municipalities will be able to be assisted by Drew on transportation-related issues. Drew graduated from Illinois Wesleyan University with a BA in economics, and then from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign with a master's of urban planning in 2022. While in school, he was a planning intern for the village of Libertyville, and spent just under a year before he came here working with the village of Frankfort as a planner. In his free time, Drew enjoys reading fiction as well as historical and anthropological nonfiction. Other times he's trying to improve his culinary abilities, so he doesn't end up making the same 3 meals over and over. He also hopes to resume playing the trumpet after 2 long hiatus started by COVID and continued by the demands of graduate school. He is interested in helping with projects that positively impact the many communities throughout the county and is enthusiastic about starting this position. So please help me welcome Drew to the team. Say in? Now's your chance.
No. Go ahead.
Thank you guys, and welcome. Old business. Can we kind of move to 2050 plan?
Yeah, I don't have too long of an update today. I just wanted to follow up. So since we met last at the end of April, we had our open house, our public open house, which I think a few of you attended at MCC. We got some really good feedback, I thought, at that event. We also had our online public engagement, which resulted in 75 people filling out our long-form survey, giving us input online, which was more than we had at the open house. So the online, again, overperforms the in-person, which we've been seeing over and over again. And I just wanted to mention, too, we had quite a bit of users visit the site. So even people that didn't take the survey, we had 182 people take a look at the site, see what was in the plan. If they didn't take the survey, that probably means that we're doing a good job. Like they weren't upset with anything that was in there. And then on top of that, we've done a lot of Facebook advertising. So we had 322 people click on our ad on Facebook. We had 43,000 impressions, meaning people viewed it on Facebook, our ad that came across. So it was overall a pretty successful public engagement. This was the last sort of formal public engagement effort for the plan. So now we are currently working with our consultant on drafting the plan and making revisions to the plan based on what we heard. So you can expect that at our June committee meeting, we'll definitely bring forward some chapters for review, and we'll have more of a longer discussion at that time on the plan. So that was all I really wanted to update the committee on today.
Thank you, Scott.
Hold on,
Stan.
before exec session.
No, just one.
Okay, go ahead if you have something else.
No, I wanted.
Oh, staff report.
Staff report.
Okay, so we had just an update, everybody's been talking about it, that the field trip was a success for those that went on it. Again, I would like to echo the gratitude to Scott for coordinated, as has been mentioned before, it's been no small undertaking to do that. Also with this, take the opportunity, as was mentioned here by Joyce, to thank Pete and Cheryl Chukwu for working with the DOT. We had a unique opportunity to bring Brian in before the incumbent left, and I can't tell you how powerful that's been. He got 4 full days with him, and when I say full days, there was an emergency locate where he got called out after hours. Without having that overlap, it was just tremendous, and I've spoke with Brian about it. He feels the same way, that he was able to get up to speed. He easily could have started the following Monday or later on. He chose to start early, and it's been a benefit for both Brian and the DOT, but I want to recognize Pete and Cheryl for allowing us to do that. And then the last, and it was good timing because we were going to give this update, but I heard there was conversation at Law and Justice yesterday regarding license plate readers. License plate readers have been around for years, and that the law enforcement community has been strongly promoting their use to help solve criminal activity. They have been, recently when they came out, they're extremely popular with the local municipalities. However, we at the county are now starting to get requests for these cameras on county roadways. As you may have heard yesterday, the sheriff department already uses this technology in their squad cars, their remote opportunities. So just wanted to make the committee aware that we're starting to get those requests here at the county now, and we'll be issuing facility permits for those. That's all we have for staff reports, sir.
Just a question, who's asking for them?
The municipalities themselves, when we do this, the municipality will be the permit applicant with it, so that we have an agreement with them, with the municipality.
So,
McHenry County Chiefs of Police Association, Chief Finland from Cary is leading the effort, but they made the request. Myself and Shaylin, and in our conversations, we don't need to change anything we're doing. We just need to allow it if those requests come in.
So one question I had, and a couple others had, and I had this myself when I saw that. What's the procedure outside of the municipalities? Does that come through us, or how does that?
Well,
Or is
if
it
it's on
just
a
grant?
county right of way, they would need to make an application to this office to hang it on some structure on Randall or on Algonquin or on Walker.
Or, well, that, Jim's talking more of the
I'm
unincorporated
talking
areas.
about outside Tracy's house in one side.
On state routes, it would be the state that would do it.
And the state is already permitting them.
Right, and
Woodstock,
that-
Woodstock Police have one at Lucas and 47.
And for us, it would be more than likely the sheriff if they came in and for unincorporated areas.
Now, aren't we looking at those
Mr.
three
Kaminsky.
principal corridors right now? I'm sorry.
Mr. Kaminsky.
Simple, stupid question. What are these cameras for? Speed cameras or?
Absolutely, no, they are not intended for any sort of enforcement.
Right.
You have, Sheriff Kittleman referenced yesterday, a young man from Plano, I don't know, he was in trouble or running away or something like that. There was an alert on him and we found him up here through the use of this technology. And if someone has, the conservation district uses them, if there are orders of protection or sexual offenders who aren't allowed near youth, so they get alerts when they're in conservation district site system. Just another simple example. Any sort of fugitive or stolen vehicle, those sorts of things. But by all means, Chief Finland said it beginning, middle, and end. We don't use this for speeding tickets or parking tickets or anything. It is truly about enforcement of serious issues.
This is the first I've heard.
I learned a lot in this process, and they are everywhere already. And as the sheriff said, we have them, and all of our vehicles essentially are mobile readers. The database is enormous.
Sorry. Weren't we just looking at just three corridors now initially? Is that?
I referenced those three, Matt, just because they're quick to find, but it county right of way. At this point, we don't have any in county right of ways. The requests are likely to start.
Okay,
Okay, that's it, sir.
thank you. Okay, there is a need for executive session.
It's got to be a good minutes, right?
No, not.
No,
All
okay.
right, so then it would be only on land acquisition, I believe.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to go on
Motion to go into executive
for land acquisition?
position.
Okay, is there a second to that? Mr. Kaminsky seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and Mr. Scala, if you're still there?
I am here.
Okay, thank you. you, gentlemen. Okay. We're ready to switch back?
Yes.
Okay, we'll now enter back into regular section. Next meeting date, June 28th, 8:15 a.m. here at this location.
Can't wait.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Well, did we go into exec session or out of, back in the regular session? Did we ever do that?
Yes.
We did. I'm sorry.
It's good, yeah,